Have you guys noticed how jacked NFL players are? And have you ever taken a second to wonder why? Is it their strength training program? Is it the sport itself producing these strong, muscular athletes? I mean, a lot of them, of course, depending on position, could train for a bodybuilding competition and enter it within 6 months. They're so muscular. But of course, again, it depends on the position. Like an NFL kicker isn't necessarily the biggest, strongest guy in the field. He's actually probably the smallest, slowest, weakest guy in the field. But a lot of these NFL players look like friggin' bodybuilders. I'm going to explain why. A lot of the times people think it's, their strength training program. Football players do this Olympic style lifting or, this explosive training or whatever, and that's why they're so jacked. But that's not actually the case. It actually has nothing to do with American football. And I say American football because we got a lot of guys from the UK, Europe, things like that who, they call their sport soccer. They refer to it as football. We refer to it as soccer, so I'm going to refer to it as American football. That sport where the most freakish human beings in the world run into each other at full speed and somehow survive. That sport, American football. But a lot of people would think it's their training that makes them so big, so strong, and so fast. Here to tell you, it's not. It comes down to something called selection bias. Okay, if you've never heard this term before, when I was in my early 20s, neither had I. And I had been under the impression that if I ran up hills in sand like Reggie Bush, then I would be able to run a 4.3 40 and avoid 11 guys on the field and never get tackled with lightning speed and athletic ability. That's what I thought. I thought these guys are so athletic, so big, so strong, so fast, so explosive because of the training they do. That's what I thought. And a reasonable person would think that too. But the truth is, their training has nothing to do with it. It all comes down to their genetics. And selection bias explains this, okay? So let's look at it this way. Certain activities, certain sports, they select for certain physiological traits that provide a significant advantage in the particular sport or activity. For instance, you're not going to see Hulk Hogan riding racehorses. Why? Because his size and his weight would slow down the horse. So in horse racing, you see a bunch of 5'2", 5'3", 110-pound men as horse jockeys because their small stature provides less weight for the horse to carry and an advantage, right? On the other end of that spectrum, we have basketball. Height is a significant advantage in basketball. Closer to the rim, you could shoot over opponents, you can catch the ball over opponents that are shorter than you. Height plays a significant advantage. And you notice in the NBA, everybody's 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Why? Because those who are genetically very, very tall have such an advantage in the sport of basketball that they do very well in it over the shorter players. So you may start off at 15 years old. Everybody's kind of, 13, 12, whatever years old. Everybody's kind of the same height. And then as teens hit their growth spurts, the shorter guys don't do as well. And they give up. And they're like, well, I can't compete with these, we're 15 years old. This guy is 6'3". I can't compete with him. I'm just going to go try something else. So these taller players become so dominant that all the shorter players can't compete. Now you're left with all tall players. Then the taller players do well in high school. And they get picked out by scouts. And then you are, if you're very good and you're tall, you go to the NCAA. And if you're very good there. You go to the NBA, and now you're left with a bunch of just freakishly tall people who are also very good at basketball. So it's more of it's almost like accelerated evolution or like selective breeding. You know, if you were to, when it comes to dog breeding, people will breed dogs for certain traits. They do this a lot of time with like French bulldogs for colors or designer dog breeds. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I'm into dog training and stuff like that. You know, I have a Belgian Malinois. All right, they selectively breed Belgian Malinois for mostly work purposes. Drive, build, aggression, intelligence. They breed them for everything besides their looks. They selectively breed for certain characteristics in the dogs in order to perform whatever task they want those dogs for. And you can break them up into a zillion different categories. More aggressive dogs will be, more military police. Smaller, more agile dogs would be more agility type training, things like that. And then when you have designer dog breeds, they breed specifically for looks, color, face, size, whatever. A similar thing is happening with sports. The sport is selectively breeding, quote, for the best physiologies for that sport. In the NFL, is the same thing. Heavily muscled, strong, explosive, fast individuals have a huge advantage in American football. All the slow, scrawny, weak, undermuscled individuals don't make it. They don't make it to the NCAA, and they sure as heck don't make it to the NFL, so they're pushed out to the sides. Now we're left with very similar body types based on position and heavily muscled, strong, fast, etc. individuals in the NFL. It's got almost nothing to do with their training. Yes, NFL players train. Of course they train very, very hard. But their physique, their jacked physiques like Adrian Peterson or, Terrell Owens or, even Reggie Bush, Patrick Willis, who's another one? Really muscular guy. Justin Tuck for the New York Giants. I was watching a football game last night with Justin Tuck, and this guy's a freak. He's like 6'5", 280, and just cut. All right. Sure, they train, but he's there because of what he was born with mostly. Not so much the training. Now, this confuses a lot of people because a lot of people try to emulate professional athletes' training, thinking that it's going to help them get to the professional athletes level without taking into consideration the selection bias phenomenon and without taking into consideration genetics. For the most part, now I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying for the most part, athletes are born. They're not so much made. All right? Neurological efficiency, strength, body type, proportions, all these things are not under the individual's control. So most high-level athletes they're mostly born for the most part. And then they find these skills, and of course they develop them over time. So it's not entirely genetics, but it's a huge, huge role. So my advice is, do not try to emulate the training practices of professional athletes because you do not have their genetics. And they are not there because of their training. Most of the time, they're there in spite of their training. Most of these professional athletes are doing explosive training and Olympic lifting. Meanwhile, there's effectively zero evidence that explosive training, Olympic lifting, stability training, blah, 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 improves athletic performance. Let me repeat that. There's zero evidence that this training improves athletic performance, but you've got these ridiculous freak athletes doing this training and then performing well, so people make that connection, even though it's a ridiculous connection to make. Are they that good because of their training, or are they that good because they're that good? So the point of this video is to encourage you to select a training approach that is based on human physiology, not based on anecdotes, not based on what you see, not based off hopes and dreams of, if I train like, I remember there was this one training where Reggie Bush was on a series of treadmills and jumping over broomsticks. I'll try to find the video and put it in this video, but ridiculous. Choose a program based on exercise physiology. Basic. Make your muscles as strong as possible, thereby improving the systems that support the muscle, cardiovascular system, metabolic system, bone and connective tissue strength, etc. And then simply practice the sport and the specific skills associated with the sport and combine those two things. Do not try to combine them in your training. Exercise with a skill component, because guess what? None of the skills from exercise transfer to the field or the court or the track or whatever. Choose a logical, physiology-based training program like high-intensity training and simply go practice your sport. Whether you're a boxer, soccer player, hockey player, football player, basketball player, you can all do the exact same strength training or exercise protocol because it's based on human physiology. You do not need to change it between sports. The only thing that changes between sports are the specific skills, and those should be separated anyway. Strength train your body, practice your sports. Go to the weight room, do high intensity training, go play basketball. Go to the weight room, do high intensity training, go play hockey. Go in the weight room, do high intensity training, go throw and catch the football. That's how it should be. My program, the Golden Era System, is that. It's a physiology-based system based on human anatomy, exercise physiology. It's basic, simple, requires no skill, so you can strengthen your body safely, drastically, and efficiently, so you can go practice your skill, which in the long run, the skill associated with the sport is the most important. People don't generally, at the highest levels, excel because they're the biggest, fastest, or the strongest. It's because they have the most skill. So go to goldenerasystem.com, try that program, try my program, so you can make your body as strong as possible and save a lot of time for practicing your skill. If you're an athlete and you want help designing your program, click the link in the description. Join my coaching program. It's an unlimited coaching program. You have access to me as your mentor for life, and I will help you schedule, organize, and create the best training program based on the equipment you have available so you can optimize your physical side of your sport and combine that with the skill side. Okay? Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell so you can be notified when I drop more value-packed videos like this to help you get the best physique you can possibly get with the shortest amount of time possible spent in the gym.